Women of the Photographs is directed by Takeshi Kushida and is currently streaming on most platforms for rental. I personally rented it on Amazon. Anyhow, I'm going to tell you off the bat, this is more of a psychological drama with body horror elements, alright? And it's really good. But anyhow, you have Kai, who owns a Photoshop and mostly edits people's pictures. You know, things like just getting rid of like blemishes on the face and whatnot. You know, just touching up pics and stuff like that, right? Though he does have some people who request him to really enhance their pics, you know, give them bigger boobs, change the way their face looks, all kinds of craziness. But he does as he's asked because he's really good at it, and it's his job. And he lives a pretty simple life. I mean, works at the shop, goes to the local wash house to wash his ass and relax a bit, gets food, and heads home where his pet praying mantis awaits. Kai shares his food with his little buddy, and that's it. Wash, rinse, and repeat. Same stuff daily for the most part, you know, until one day he decides to go out and take photos of insects in the woods and runs into a female named Kyoko, who just so happens to get into an accident while taking selfies. Kyoko is an Instagram model and has a sponsorship that pays for each post. She's a very beautiful girl, and these cuts that she has, these new cuts and bruises, they just won't do. And luckily, she ran to the right guy, Mr. Kai. So they head to his spot, and he fixes a few pics of hers. And she's amazed at the work he does, dude. So amazed at the fact that she's grateful and decides to take him out to dinner as a token of her appreciation. Thing is, Kai is a nervous wreck around the female kind because he has no experience whatsoever, which means obviously my man's never had a girlfriend, right? But eventually he warms up to her, so much to the fact that he actually lets her stay at his house. Dude, Kyoko even starts to assist Kai when he's working with customers, giving them coffee and greeting them and whatnot. Not too shabby for Kai at this point, right? But with this being the type of movie it is, there's always more to come, right? Now I gotta tell you, when going into this one, it's not a blood fest, or even really much of a horror movie in like, you know, as in like the slice you up, kill a dude type thing. This movie focuses more on inner beauty, you know, what is it and how we see ourselves and want to be reflected as. How we can exploit ourselves actually too as well, to make people like us, to feel important and loved visually. And at the same time, when you decide to go in the other direction, are you going too far even with that? Plus, this is an odd-ass love story as well, alright? Between a guy who has no experience in dating and a woman we find out has some insecurities, to say the least. A recipe for disaster, but very entertaining regardless. The performances are fantastic. Kai, the main character, this is the crazy part. Throughout the entire film, he never speaks, dude. Not one line. Yet you can understand him so well by his actions, dude. It's great. A man who was comfortable in his own world until Kyoko came into it and changed everything. There's an interesting time between him and his praying mantis as well. Or should I say, what happens to the male mantis versus the female ones. I don't know if you guys actually know what happens, but watch the movie, you'll understand. But there's similarities to that in Kai's relationship with Kyoko, though. It kind of makes a lot of sense. There's not a whole lot of music as well in the soundtrack. I mean, actually, the soundtrack's dedicated to the noises of insects, as if you're kind of walking outside, you know, either at late at night or in the morning, where you hear, you know, meh, meh, you know, those weird noises and whatnot. That's pretty much what you hear for the most part. They even boost up the sound of Kai's mantis when he's feeding it, dude. You hear like the crunches and everything. I mean, the minute details of the sound, dude. It's just, ugh. It feels uncomfortable because it's like, ugh, the thing's so tiny. So you know, if you really saw it eating, it wouldn't sound that loud. But when you're actually watching it in the movie and they boost that sound, ugh, kind of sounds nasty. This is a very heavy story-driven flick, dude, with no kills in it, very little blood. But the scenes that do show blood are used very effectively, though. It's an off and semi-twisted love story filled with real-life people we see every day. I mean, hell, you could be one of these folks, actually, and can relate, probably, you know? Seriously. But, dude, there's... actually, it's a crazy part. There's a chick, dude, that goes to Kai's shop. And, I mean, she goes on a daily, paying him to fix up her pictures. Now, she looks really, like, sad and depressed when you see the pictures, right? But the way this guy fixes it up, I mean, boosting her cheeks up, dude, her boobs, her eyes... damn near everything, dude. I mean, like, she actually puts notes on there showing exactly what she wants, and it makes her look like totally different than what she actually really looks like. It's pretty crazy stuff, though. But I also like the pacing of the movie because it's not too fast or slow. It's just right. The characters are interesting, great storytelling, and the funny thing is it starts out as kind of like a slice of life kind of movie, right? Then changes into like a psychological drama, body horror flick, if that makes any sense. Very good from beginning to end, and I recommend it for sure. It may not be for everybody, but I personally really enjoyed the way the story was told. Plus, it's kind of nice to have a movie so well put together without all the blood and gore sometimes. I got a few body horror recommendations that have a little more punch to them that I really enjoyed. First up is Society, about an ordinary teenage boy who discovers his family is part of a gruesome orgy cult for the social elite. Yes, you heard that correctly. And it's as funny as it is nasty. Oh, and I mean nasty. Alright, so up next is Reanimator. After an odd new medical student arrives on campus, a dedicated local and his girlfriend become involved in bizarre experiments centering around the reanimation of dead tissue. It's sort of like the Night of the Living Dead with body parts coming to life. And I got another one called Contracted. After being drugged and having sex at a party, a young woman contracts what she thinks is an STD, but it's actually something much worse. Alright, so we got one more recommendation, alright? And this one is called Bite. While on her bachelorette party getaway, Casey, the bride-to-be, gets a seemingly harmless bite from an unknown insect. After the trip, Casey discovers that everything can change with that single bite. And I'll just say that one's kind of reminds me of... kind of has The Fly vibes, if you know what I'm talking about. The one from the 80s with Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, so think that in a way, alright? But anyhow, that's all for today. Stay nasty, my friends, and I'll see you at the next one. Shay Nasty out.
I'll see you soon.
Like and subscribe.